He was the perfect son, the kind everyone admired and no one really knew. The morning of his college entrance exam, he vanished, and for 8 years, my family searched for answers, until the truth found us first. I always thought my brother was perfect, not just smart, not just kind, but steady, predictable, safe. His name was Eric. Eric Zhang, to the world. He was a student, a mathlete, a quiet genius. To our parents, he was the firstborn son, the pride of a Chinese immigrant family that came to America with nothing but debt, calloused hands, and the unshakable belief that sacrifice would one day be rewarded through their children. To me, he was just my brother, the one who walked me to the bus stop in the snow, who fixed my science projects when I cried over them, who always let me have the last dumpling, even when I knew he was still hungry. But now, when I look back, I realize I didn't really know him at all, though. Eric had this way of hiding everything, especially from our parents. In our house, you didn't talk about stress, you didn't talk about sadness. You worked harder, you smiled bigger, and if you couldn't handle it, you kept it to yourself, so you wouldn't embarrass the family. That's how we were raised. My parents weren't cruel. They were tired. They came to America believing that education was the only way out. So when Eric scored in the 99th percentile on the SAT, when Yale sent him that letter, it wasn't just good news. It was validation. It was proof that all those years my dad worked 12-hour shifts at the laundromat meant something, that all those times my mom cried over grocery bills weren't in vain. No one ever said it out loud, but we all knew Eric was the one who was supposed to make everything okay. The pressure didn't come in yelling or beatings. It came in silence. It came in the way my father would quietly nod, as if saying, "Don't mess this up." In the way my mother would sit outside his door, muttering prayers in Cantonese on the night before every big test. It came in the red envelopes handed out at Lunar New Year with little notes that said things like, "Harvard next year." Right, Eric never pushed back. He never argued. He just smiled and said, "I'll do my best." And he always did. Until one day, he didn't. I remember the night before the National College entrance exam. My parents had made a full spread. Steamed fish for luck. Long noodles for longevity. My mom handed him a jade pendant to wear, one my grandfather had given her, whispering that our ancestors would protect him. Eric said, "Thank you." He smiled. And then, that night, I saw him sitting alone in the kitchen. The lights were off, just the glow of the stove. He was staring into a pot of boiling water like it held answers. I asked him if he was okay. He nodded. "Just thinking," he said, but something in his voice, it didn't sound like Eric. The next morning, he was gone. His bed was made, his room spotless, his phone left on the desk, fully charged. He never showed up to the exam, never came home, never sent a message. One moment, he was there, the next, he was just gone. And for the next 8 years, my family fell apart, one silent morning at a time. The first few hours didn't feel real. My mom thought maybe he'd gone early. Maybe he was already at the testing center. Maybe his phone had died. Or maybe he just needed some space to focus. We made excuses. We whispered them like prayers. But by noon, reality started to crack. The exam had started. His seat was empty. And still, no word, no call, no trace. My dad drove to every place Eric might have gone. The library, the park, even the Chinese bakery he used to visit when he needed to think. I stayed home, pacing the hallway, calling his name into an empty apartment. My mom just sat on the couch, clutching that jade pendant, like it might still bring him back. We filed a missing persons report that night. The officer was polite, but distant. He looked at Eric's photo, then at us, and said, "He's 18, legally an adult. Maybe he left on his own." I remember my father's face, how fast the blood drained from it, as if someone had said Eric never existed. My mother begged. She showed him the red envelopes Eric kept in a shoebox. The acceptance letter from Yale. His AP test scores. She said, "He's not the kind of boy who just leaves," but the officer just wrote it all down and handed us a case number. For weeks, we searched. We posted flyers in every subway station, laundromat, and campus bulletin board. We called his friends, his teachers, anyone who had spoken to him in the last week, but no one knew anything. Or if they did, they weren't saying. One of his classmates mentioned he'd seemed tired. Another said he'd asked strange questions about how much it costs to disappear. I couldn't believe it. That didn't sound like my brother, but maybe maybe I never really heard him in the first place. My father stopped speaking for a while after that. He still went to work, still ironed his shirt every morning, but he never looked at me, never looked at anyone. At night, I'd hear my mother crying softly behind her bedroom door. Her prayers became more desperate, louder, angrier. Where did we go wrong? Why would he do this to us? I didn't know how to answer her, because I was starting to wonder the same thing. A month passed, then 2, and then it was summer. The flyers began to fade. So did people's interest. Neighbors stopped asking questions. Teachers moved on. Even the police stopped returning our calls, but we couldn't stop. Not when his toothbrush was still in the holder. Not when his shoe were still by the door. Not when every shadow down the street felt like it could be him. I gave up college that year. I told my parents I'd go later. After we found him. But deep down, I think I just couldn't imagine sitting in a classroom while my brother was somewhere out there or nowhere at all. I spent my days chasing internet forums, looking at surveillance footage from other cities, comparing blurry images of strangers on sidewalks, hoping one of them had his smile, his walk, his stillness. But no matter how far I looked, I couldn't find him. And every day, he stayed gone. The silence in our family grew louder. The thing no one tells you about a missing person is this. They don't just disappear once. They disappear again and again. Every time someone asks, "Have you heard anything yet?" Every time their favorite show airs a new season. Every time you walk by the bakery where you used to go together, and there's one less chair pulled out. Eric didn't just vanish from our lives. He vanished from our routines, from our language, from who we were. The first year, we still held on. My mom kept a candle lit in the kitchen window, changing it out every time the wax burned low. She cooked his favorite meals on weekends. 3 bowls, 3 plates, 3 sets of chopsticks, even though only 2 of us sat at the table. My dad printed new flyers every month. He made them in English and Chinese, even though most of our neighborhood already knew and stopped looking. He told me one night, maybe the police can't find him, but someone will remember something. Maybe a cab driver, maybe a street vendor, maybe. But he never finished the sentence. By year 2, something cracked. My father started drinking, not much at first. A beer after dinner, then 2, Then I started finding bottles under the sink. He said it helped him sleep, but he didn't look rested. He looked like someone who'd lost the only map he trusted. My mom got smaller, not physically, though her clothes started hanging looser. She just shrank, stopped talking to neighbors, stopped calling her sisters back in Guangzhou. She only talked to Eric, late at night, sitting by the window, whispering into the dark, "If you're safe, just let me know. I won't ask questions. I won't tell anyone. I just want to hear your voice." I tried to hold us together. I picked up shifts at the laundromat when my dad couldn't. I stopped applying to colleges because what was the point? How do you explain in an essay that your future is on pause because your brother is missing and your parents are breaking under the weight of not knowing? Some days, I hated Eric. I hated him for leaving, for not sending a message. For turning us into a family that people pitied from a distance. But other days, I hated himself more. Because what if he was out there? What if he needed help? What if he was trying to come back? And we just hadn't looked hard enough. One night, during the 4th year, I found my dad at the kitchen table, staring at an old photo of Eric, the one from his high school graduation. He looked up at me and asked, "Do you think he's alive?" It was the first time he'd asked, the first time he'd said anything that admitted, maybe we'd never know. I didn't have an answer, so I just sat down beside him, and we stared at the photo together, like if we stared long enough, he might blink, or smile, or step out of the frame and come home. By year 5, we stopped counting. Hope, I learned, doesn't always die all at once. Sometimes it just gets quieter, like a TV left on in an empty room, still buzzing, but no one's listening. And then, in year 8, something changed. We got an email. No name, no subject line. Just a photo, a blurry image of a man working behind a bar in Colorado, his back turned, but the slope of his shoulders, the way he stood, it looked just like Eric. At first, I thought it was a cruel joke. The email had no text, no name, no explanation, just a single photo. It showed the back of a man in a dark gray t-shirt, drying a glass behind a bar. There was nothing obvious. No face, no scars, no way to be sure. But the curve of his neck, the way his shoulder sloped slightly to the left, it was him. I stared at that photo for hours, zooming in until the pixels bled. I didn't tell my parents. Not yet. I didn't want to give them hope until I was sure. So I booked a flight to Colorado. The bar was in a small town I'd never heard of, one of those places that only exists if you're already lost. I walked in just after sunset. It was quiet, a few locals, some soft music playing from an old jukebox, and then I saw him, behind the counter, pouring a drink, smiling at a customer like he'd never forgotten how, like he belonged here. I froze. For a moment, I wasn't sure if I was real, like maybe I was dreaming myself into his life, instead of the other way around. But then he turned, and he saw me, and just like that, the smile disappeared. He didn't run, he didn't cry, he just stared at me for a long, hollow second, then said, "I knew you'd come eventually." We didn't talk at the bar. He told his coworker he needed a break, then walked me to a diner across the street. We sat in a corner booth, no food, no drinks, just silence. And then, finally, he spoke. "I'm sorry." That was the first thing. No excuses, no lies, just those 2 words. Soaked in the weight of 8 years, I asked him why he left, why he never called. Why he let us break apart piece by piece while he built a new life out here, with a new name and a new smile. And he said, because I couldn't breathe anymore. He told me everything, how the night before the exam, he sat in the kitchen staring at that boiling pot of water and realized he was never going to live for himself. That every decision, every grade, every smile had been made for someone else. That he didn't want to go to Yale, he didn't want to study engineering, he didn't want to be the golden child, he just wanted out. "I know it was selfish," he said, "but staying felt like dying a little every day. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to scream, to cry, to grab his hand and drag him back to New York, but I didn't, because the person sitting across from me wasn't the boy who disappeared. He was a man now, a stranger, and maybe he had the right to be. I asked him why he never wrote, never let us know he was okay. He looked down, then said, because I knew, if I opened that door, even a little, I'd be pulled back, and I wasn't strong enough to stay, or to leave twice. That night, I stayed in a cheap motel. I didn't tell him where. I didn't ask to stay with him. We didn't hug goodbye. We just parted, like a thread that had unraveled so far, it couldn't be rewoven. When I flew back to New York, I didn't know how to tell them. I stared out the airplane window, thinking of 1,000 ways to break it. I practiced my words. I pictured their faces, but nothing prepared me for the silence that came after I walked through the front door. My mom was at the stove, stirring soup. My dad sat at the table, sorting mail. 8 years. And yet, the house felt exactly the same. Except it wasn't. I dropped my bag by the door. They looked up. My mom asked, softly, "Did you find him?" And I nodded. I told them everything, not all at once, but enough, that he was alive. That he was safe, that he had a job, a place to live, that he didn't need anything, except, maybe, distance. My mother's face crumbled like paper. She didn't speak. She just folded into herself, hands trembling against the kitchen counter. My father didn't say a word for a full minute. Then he stood, walked to the living room, and turned off the light. We didn't eat that night. In the weeks that followed, there were no big gestures, no family meetings, no crying on the floor, just a slow, quiet rearranging of reality. My mom started writing emails, one every week, short, careful, never pushy. "It's cold today. I made your favorite. Your cousin got married. You used to play Legos together. Remember." She never expected a reply, but she sent them anyway. My dad didn't write, didn't speak of him, but I caught him once, late at night, holding Eric's high school trophy, just staring. He put it back before he noticed me watching. As for me, I went back to school, not out of hope, not out of healing, but because life, somehow, still moves. I no longer believed in fairy tale endings, but I did believe in beginnings, and maybe that was enough, sometimes. I still hear his voice in my head. Not the adult version I met in Colorado, but the version from my childhood. Laughing behind the couch, singing off-key while he washed dishes, promising me everything would be okay. I know now, he meant it, even if he couldn't keep it. People ask me if we ever reconciled, if we talk now, if there was some big reunion, a tearful hug at the airport, a healing moment. The truth is, no. We spoke once more. Briefly, a text message, a holiday later. He thanked me for not trying to change his mind, and that was it. Sometimes, Love doesn't look like reunion. Sometimes it looks like letting go. Sometimes it sounds like silence. And sometimes it sounds like a mother typing into an inbox that never replies. But it's still love. It's still family, just a different shape. I never stopped missing my brother, but I finally stopped chasing his shadow. He chose to leave. We chose to survive. And somehow, that has to be enough.